Let's go, IC people! Thanks everyone for joining us today. This is a really exciting last wrap-up episode of the ICP Community Conference Talks. After this, all of the footage from the conference back in May will be live and publicly available moving forward. Towards the end, I'll share a little bit more information about the next conference event coming up and tease some information there. But right now, I'd like to introduce our guests. So we've got Paul from Stak ICP. How you doing, Paul?
Finding the mute button. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Isaac?
Doing pretty good. And then we've also got Star from Skoje.
How's it going, guys?
And Daniel, I know you're traveling right now. Thank you so much for being able to make it with us today. It's good to have you.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. So this is kind of a unique episode. Normally we have a speaker. We go through and play the recording of their footage. The speakers today were pitch presenters at the conference. We had a great around 2-hour-long pitch event. And during the live stream today, we won't be showing the recordings because that takes up quite a bit of time. But those recordings will be made available shortly, I think a few hours after this live stream is over, so you'll be able to go see. But we will have basically go through and have each one of these guys talk about what they're building on IC, and then we can get into some discussion. Does that sound good, guys? All right, let's go. So, Paul, why don't you give us kind of a brief overview of Stak ICP and what you're doing with that? And I think you said you had some a few visuals that you want to show.
Yeah, well. you said not to send a deck, so I made sure to send a deck just to mess with you, because you know I am. All right. Yeah, I won't go through the whole thing we talked about at the conference because actually stuff's kind of moved along and progressed a lot since then. So I'll just give kind of an update on the project and a bit of background.
Yeah.
So Stak ICP is liquid staking for ICP, right? Backed by the NNS under the hood. And I built it initially because I wanted to be part of the 8-year gang and get the rewards from that, but I didn't want the 8-year pain of locking stuff up that comes with that, right? And a bit more than that, even like if you look at the ICP community, the DeFi stuff that's growing, right? A yield mechanism, like an asset that actually generates yield, is a really core part for people to build on. If you look like Ethereum, right? There's the whole LST5 boom, right? That's coming from that. I think we can see a lot of really interesting new lending borrowing primitives, all sorts of stuff coming from that. So I really want to contribute that to the community. Can we talk a bit about how it works? This is the key slide. I think I sent you, Isaac. If there's a thing we can show.
Me the slide?
I did. Yeah, this is the one that's actually important.
Yeah. Here, let me see. I can open it up and share my desktop.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Let me see. I need to make it big. I've got a really large.
I don't have snazzy hold music like you do for the countdown here.
No worries. All right.
But okay, so what's going to come up? Here we go. Go to the second page in there for me.
All right.
Cool. Here we go. Right. Okay. So there's 2 ways to use Stak ICP right now, right? And we'll go through the 2 of them. So the first one is to deposit ICP and mint STICP. So you deposit normal cash ICP, right? And you receive back STICP, which is a fungible ICRC1 token. You can use it in DeFi transactions, all that kind of stuff. If we go to section 3 in the bottom right here, that's kind of the next step in this flow. No, sorry. Leave it on page 2, Isaac.
Oh, sorry. Oops.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just walking through the circular diagram thing here. Okay, so you deposited your ICP, you've received your STICP, right? You're earning yield. So under the hood, the ICP is sent by the canisters to the NNS, right? Where it earns the daily yield by voting on governance proposals, right? So the exchange rate between STICP and ICP increases every day, right? That's how the yield gets distributed. So you actually earn the yield just by holding the STICP token. And then when it's time to cash out, you do a delayed unstaking. You create a delayed withdrawal, right? That's one way. So this goes into the redemption queue, and the backend looks at all the neurons that it has in the NNS and says, okay, which ones do we need to split off? What do we need to dissolve? Figures out the fastest way to get that out for you, right? There's a variable delay depending on how long that can take, but there's no fees, right? This ensures that the Stak ICP is always fully backed by ICP in the NNS to the amount that it says it is, right? It's always fully solvent as a protocol. The second way to use it is what I'm working on right now. So this is the liquidity pool in the bottom left here, right? So you could also stake your ICP into a one-sided liquidity pool and earn fees from that, right? The liquidity pool is used when people want to take the rest of the ICP and do a swap to cash out right away, right? For an instant on staking experience with no delay. They use the one-sided liquidity pool, but they pay a fee for that instant access, right? If there's not much liquidity in the pool, it'd be a 5% fee. As liquidity builds in the pool, it'll go all the way down to 0.3%. So it'll be pretty cheap for that. And those fees are distributed to the people staking in the liquidity pool, providing that mechanism. This is what I'm building on right now. I want to talk a little bit about roadmap and where we're going. This is actually the thing that's probably changed the most since the protocol in May, which is great. And the history of how we got here. I launched a V1 way back. And that was really a custodial thing to kind of test the market, see if people are actually interested in this thing. And then that actually got a really good response. So at the conference in May, I launched V2, which was the very first canister owned and controlled neuron. So the canisters themselves use threshold ECDSA on the ICE, which is pretty freaking cool. They actually own the keys and control the whole thing and control all the neurons and stuff behind the scenes. So they all own the whole thing. So now since then, we've been working on fast unstaking. That's like the big key piece of this whole thing left, right? There's a few other little pieces. I'm optimistic we'll have that done by end of the month-ish and get the entire core protocol done around the end of December, around that time. After that, fast unstaking will be rolling out gradually, do a private beta test for a little bit, test everything's working well. Yeah. And then once things kind of settled there, do audits around April and looking for an SNS launch after that point, essentially, right? The liquid staking protocol is like a core part of the DeFi ecosystem, right? I think it needs to be community governed. That's like the whole part of the whole thing, right? It needs to be a community owned thing. Yeah, so it can be properly decentralized, essentially. I don't know. That's all I have for today. We can do some questions if you want.
Yeah, no, that's great. And before anyone asks, yeah, you've already engaged as a code and state with Solid State for the audit, so we're excited to work on that. And we've already got auditors standing by, so we'll definitely be working on with you around April. Yeah, no, I've been a fan of your project. I think it's a great primitive because it's an asset that gains in value. Based on the core protocol itself, and that's that's rare even in crypto. Daniel, Star, do you guys have any questions for Paul or anything that you're curious about?
Nothing really, but except to say that I've been following Staked for a long time, and I'm a pretty big fan of the project. Sweet. And you guys are doing great things over there, so keep it up and keep up the hard work. It's good to see the project progress and grow.
Yeah, thanks. Likewise. I think there's a question just came in about the liquidity pool fees. Do you want to answer that? Do you want me to answer that, or was there other one first?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and bring it up. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about this myself.
Yeah, 5%'s a lot, right? So the way it works is if there's not very much liquidity in the pool, like if there's essentially zero liquidity in the liquidity pool, that's when you pay 5%, right? As the liquidity in the liquidity pool builds up, I think still working out the exact numbers here, but I say around like 15,000 ICP, right, in the pool. That's when it hits the 0.3%, and then after that, it's always 0.3%. So it's really to incentivize initial people to put more liquidity in the liquidity pool and maintain a buffer there that we need. That's where you get the higher fees.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I don't know, like, where did you even get 5%? Because I was even thinking, like, let's say there's a scenario where there's very little ICP in the pool, but I just have a bill to pay and I'm just need to get out immediately. Yeah. Like, I can see 10% even working. Like, there's people who deal with way worse fees. Yeah. I mean, think of the people who trade on Ethereum with like hundreds of dollar fees just for the transaction. So
absolutely. I mean, I was looking at like, should it just be an uncapped exponential thing, right? But like if there's zero liquidity in the pool and you want to get all of it out, like you got to cap it somewhere, right? Yeah. So you got to pick some sort of cap. 5% is pretty common across liquid staking protocols, essentially, right? I've been engaging with some partners, and that's kind of the metrics they use that they found to work well for. It's high enough to incentivize liquidity without being like predatory, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right, great. Well, yeah, I think that's we can always continue answering questions about Staked ICP
sounds good.
later. But Star, I think you've got one of the most unique projects I've seen on really Web3. And I was curious, were you going to share your screen and talk people through it, or just talk about it? Because I feel like it's yours visual, like seeing what you're doing is particularly useful for it.
I could talk about it because right now I'd have to like log in and I don't know. How do you feel? You want to do a quick screen share?
Yeah, go try it. You got 10 minutes here. Why don't you go log in and show people?
All right. Let's see.
And looking fly as always. For those who don't know, Star is a fashion designer, which is part of his project as well. So he told me before this call that he was busy with life, coding, and sewing, which is a nice, interesting mix. I like it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right, 1 second. Bear with me. All right, let's see.
I mean, there's probably a lot of crossover there, right? Like the first computers were designed to control sewing machines, really.
Yeah, right. Can you guys see the screen? Is it sharing?
Yeah, here, 1 second. Boom. There we go.
All right. So essentially, Skoj is a fashion brand leveraging Web3 through the internet computer and gaming. And the primary reason for this decision was there's a ton of assets that have their own story embedded into them. And initially, the only avenues for me to tell the story is usually in traditional social media, but that started to create a bottleneck for me where I have this developing story happening, but there's no platform and essentially to kind of like house the different elements of the story as a whole. So the Skoj universe is almost a back-end platform for getting the story out that exists in each piece in this world that I've been building.
I like all the little sounds that you put into your website.
Yeah, there's a lot of so over the past few months, I've been developing this platform, and essentially it's token gated. So the NFT launch that we created and dropped through Yumi are the tokens to allow different people into this platform. But the overall goal is to merge the physical and digital assets, where if someone purchases a piece of clothing, they also get access to the back end, and then also possibly vice versa in the future, where someone purchases a parcel of land, they also get an item. But essentially, this is where the developing storyline and game will happen. It's almost like this isometric map, and the players, the square box, and they can like roam around the map to find different parts of the brand and the story. So this is like a hidden parcel.
In the distant lands of Tau City, there exists a hidden world of self-exiled creators, known as the Oracles.
There are like a bunch of different lands that have different functions. That was more like a canon story expression, and then this would be like video or photos. But we're still in pre-alpha, and the overall goal.
There's the door over here.
We're still in pre-alpha, and the overall goal is to distribute each one of these parcels to the different NFT users. So for the past few months, I've been building out that interface where, let's see, I would have to log. All right. So for the past few months, I've been building out the different elements that would be necessary. The next important update will be the update that gives each person who owns an NFT the functionality to kind of pick their land and decide on what type of function their land would have. So the land could be a chat room, it could be a gallery, it could be another extension of the story. But beyond that, also, once I guess the physical and digital elements are connected via different, I guess, RFID methods or strings, or haven't yet settled on that, but that'll be the next thing that I work on, is the final prototype for the linked assets, so to speak. But once this platform fleshes out, the goal is to have the owners of the tokens and the clothes have direct input on the development of the brand, so they can choose if the brand decides to produce shoes or shirts or bottoms, and then they can see the different reasons why people decide that the brand should move in that direction, or even there'll be another interface that kind of helps or gives the people who own the token kind of more consensus utility, where they can help decide what needs to be pushed out immediately, and kind of like where this platform would go. But it's much larger than it looks. Right now, this is only about 9,000 parcels. The map has about 13,000, I believe. And then once it gets going, like if another person was in this map right now, you'd see me as the red box, but then you'd see these other faint boxes moving around, and so there's like a lot of stuff that is being built when it comes to the utility of the land, and like how that connects to the actual physical items of the brand, and then also the consensus, and then the interactions between players. So this is kind of bare bones, but it's the city that the overall Skoje story is developing in, and there's a lot of things that are better left unsaid and explored.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Yeah,
is.
I like it. It's unique. It's like a brand story and imagery that ties to a 2D community grid of content that could be all kinds of different content.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not like a normal. This is one question. It's like they're asking, what is the game all about? Is it an online game? It's almost, I guess, would you say it's more of like a brand experience than like a strictly a game? Or
so there, the story is the brand, and it goes both ways. So like when I do a fashion presentation, should I keep streaming or sharing the screen?
I think we got to move on pretty quickly here, but maybe just a couple questions.
All right, so let me see. So the basis is that the products live through that platform, and people can purchase real world items or digital items. The story is kind of what dictates the so it's almost like a reverse approach for fashion, where every time I do a collection or present products, they are like they push along the underlying narrative of the story of that world. So that's kind of like one base level. But then there's also like a narrative game embedded into it, and it's almost it's more like yeah, I don't think there's much I can say.
Like you have like the story of the city, and the
Yeah.
physical real world clothing brand is clothes that they would wear in this story, right? And the community owns little pieces
Right.
of what the story and help it take shape. So,
But on the gaming, sorry about on the gaming side, there's like a lot being developed where it's almost like Pokemon battles would be enabled, where like you can interact with the other people on the map through battles, through chat, through developing the story.
Oh, cool. Thanks for sharing. I mean, Paul, Daniel, do y'all have any questions or any thoughts on what Sto's been working on?
If I buy pieces of clothes and stuff, does that like unlock things in the game? And that, I guess, does it go that way?
Yeah, it'll automatically give you like a land parcel, and then so you can.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So
Yeah. When Studs first told me about it, I was like, how funny would it be if somebody steals your wallet and you're like, oh, thank God I had crypto in my pants that they had no idea. Like your pants themselves hold a wallet with crypto that is more valuable than your actual wallet.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right. And so Daniel, why don't you give us the lowdown on what you're doing with what was it called? The personal canister or the personal, what's the right word for your project?
Well, originally it started off as a kind of a rough proof of concept idea that was conceptualized back in November of last year, where I thought, what if I handed the power of internet computer asset canisters to the end user? And the only thing that came to my mind is just like, I'll just call it the asset app for now. While I was, I was just creating it, and I was like, this will do for now. It is currently going through a professional rebranding. So it'll all change. The UI will be different. The colors will be different. It's going to go through its process because at this point it's matured into what is now a very usable platform. And I actually pushed out a beta teaser video that is linked on my Twitter that is pinned to the top, and it shows what the app does. So the rundown is essentially, the user can log in with a wallet provider of their choice and spin up their own asset canister by tossing some ICP into it that gets burnt into cycles to power their asset canister. And then after creation, well, I should say during creation, it creates the canister for the user, it makes them the only controller, and installs the pre-built asset canister WebAssembly profile from the latest Affinity versions of the asset canister. And then it forwards the user to a user interface that resembles a file manager or a file explorer that you would typically see in like Mac or Windows, where there's drag and drop file upload support. You can kind of move things around. You can rename files, delete files, and you can upload any kind of file you want. Image and video thumbnails appear, so when you have images on there, you could see them. They show up in little squares on the screen, kind of just the same as you would any other file explorer. And the idea of that was to give every single type of user the power of the internet computer straight to their hands, instead of having canisters be looked at as a developer thing. So if a user could just pay some internet computer token, or in the future, I'm looking at doing CK ETH, CK Bitcoin, and other payment methods as well. What you're really doing is you're taking away that gateway that allows, that would normally not allow for users to see or experience that. And you're not only giving them that without them needing to know code or know commands or know the development stack of the IC, but you're also letting them experience it in a way that's familiar to them, with the overall point that they own their own data on the canisters. So then they own their own storage container and all the files on it. Nobody can change them. Nobody can edit them. They're theirs. And sharing them, because the internet computer web serves assets, sharing them is as simple as just opening it up and sharing the link to people. And then I'm also going to be taking it one step further. I'm going to be adding share via QR code, allowing users to name their canisters with a description, and quite a lot of other really cool features moving forward along the lines of potentially even subscriptions for auto cycle top up, so that users don't have to worry about topping up their canisters when they upload a bunch of files. So really the idea is just bring the most ground level user friendliness to the internet computer utility that we can.
Yeah. No, I love it. And as my background, I created the NNS proposal submission tab because I thought it was crazy that you can only submit proposals through the command line, and normal people had no way to just submit proposals through an online interface. So I think I resonate with your kind of your goal of making this base level protocol functions available for normal people, not just coders. And it's powerful because, like, I think Web3's use case itself is ownership. Web3 is an innovation on the concept of ownership. So not having any third-party service provider. Who knows? Maybe somebody there's conflict in the world right now, and there's lots of people saying that things are happening, and other people saying there's no evidence. I mean, maybe soldiers out there could upload files without to worrying about censorship, and being able to report directly on things that would normally be censored, or journalists. Like there's use cases, I think, in the world for giving people this ability to make things available in an immutable way.
Yeah, and I'd really like to take it one step further. I'd like to use on and off ramps eventually to allow non-internet computer, non-crypto users to use this kind of decentralized storage platform. But even to go a little bit further, there's actually a 8 to 12 month roadmap planned from here. The app was originally debuted in alpha at the ICP conference back in Miami in May, and recently, as of a week or two ago, the video was released, which I'm sure a lot of you guys caught wind of. That shows it in a closed later beta, but as it goes to its finishing process over the next year or so, I actually plan to get encrypted private canisters moving along, and then have people have truly owned data that's encrypted and completely private to them, and even potentially add a monetizable access layer that users can allow whoever. They could charge whoever a fee or a subscription to their canister. So like photographers or musicians could license their content from these canisters without actually worrying about the difference between what is and what isn't as far as royalties go for current centralized platforms, because there's a lot of that out there right now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of another like long-term aim to it.
And looking at your post that has that video you referred to a few times, almost 90,000 views. Well done, man. I think I remember seeing Dom repost it and everything. Yeah. I think it's a cool project, and it's just it's a simple idea, but we could feel it. Paul, I see you nodding along. It looks like you're a fan of this project as well.
Simple idea, but well done. Yeah, that video is super cool. Really, really awesome. I was going to ask about privacy, but you're already on it. So
yeah, I've conceptualized this project for a long time. It actually, like I said, the idea started back in November. I started building the proof of concept in February. So I had 4 months to think about this while finishing up another project. And really, it became a passion project and turned into something way more. And as I started letting people use it, I started getting all these crazy use cases for it. Like we had X Valorian released his book by uploading his book to the chain using the app. I've had musicians interested in posting music, photographers sharing photos on it. Lots of interesting use cases that have popped up that have really inspired me to keep pushing on the app and keep bringing more to it, and try to hit as broadside of a user base as I can with it. But it is actually behind the scenes, it is the most complex app I've built on the internet computer since I started building here. User-owned canisters has been plus the file explorer with the drag and drop, and then I'm going to have folder uploads soon too. So it's like it's actually really, really complex, but it's also it just in my opinion, it needs to be done. It needs to be just brought to the user. And I'd eventually like to even do in-app NFT minting to allow users to upload an asset and then mint it as an NFT right inside the app, because that would give people even more power over their data and even distributing it as they please.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, for everyone out there, just going to go through it one more time real quick. If you want to learn more about Staked ICP, go to stakedicp.com. If you want to learn more about Skoje, go to skoje.co. And the asset app, it has a canister URL, but I think the easiest one to share here was danielmccoy.us, and that has a link straight to it. It's thank you all for just building on the IC and kind of showing like I think the Pits event was one of my favorites because it just showed like boots on the ground what's happening within the community. I'm gonna introduce a new concept for the next conference in just a bit, but before that, maybe I just want to unpack, like, what did y'all think about the last conference? Back in May, just going there, presenting. Like how was the experience for y'all?
We don't know who's going to go first.
I was gonna say I'll take it. Honestly, I went to me and the Swap and a couple others went to both the community conference and Bitcoin Miami, and the community conference was just such a higher energy. It was so up close and personal with all the folks that we've come to know and love on our home ecosystem. And, like I said, the energy was it was unmatched. The second you stepped into the room, you're surrounded by folks who share the similar ethos, the similar ideas. Everybody felt like we were just friends immediately. And it was it was a crazy experience to get to not only see what all the projects are doing and see what they've been cooking up, but also get to meet the teams and really come face to face and have, deeper talks with people from all around the world. So really, I said this to the Code and State team back when at the conference, but seriously, thank you guys for doing that. It was an amazing setup. The food was great. Good job on that, by the way, guys.
It's an honor to be part of hosting it. It was great.
Yeah, you guys did a great job organizing it. It was a lot of fun. You got the word out there plenty ahead of time. The turnout was great, and all of the best teams showed up. It was honestly, out of all the conferences I've been to for crypto and blockchain, I think that had to be my favorite. So that'd be what I have to say.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that. I think for me, it took it from kind of this like abstract thing I've been like talking about on Twitter to like, it's like a real thing with like real people in like the community, and you can like put faces to them and like talk to people and like the unexpected connections, right? The energy was just like electric. It was really good.
It's a special moment.
I'll triple that. I think the main thing was the fact that we finally got to see each other. And it's like this, it's like, you know what you're building on is real, but once you've seen someone in real life, there's another layer of like foundation that you recognize. And then apart from that, I think just it allows for randomness to happen. Like the after parties, the random talks. Online is kind of like, what you're getting is this or that, but when there's a crowd forming, people start winning money, losing money, drink is just fun.
Oh, and it was funny. I was in a casino because then there's gambling. I was like, hey, we can. What's the joke I said? Like, hey, let's all go lose money together like we normally do. It's because we're all like ICP's prices going down, and now we get to do it in person.
Who's the one that won a bunch of money though in the casino? There was somebody
won a lot.
I did.
It was Arthur. I hate to put him on the spot like that, but we all went out to dinner after too. I think. What was that?
How much did he win?
I don't remember, but I know he didn't put in that much, and he was like, he just kept winning. And then after we were like, we just gave up. We were like, let's all go out. Went out to this really cool Korean barbecue place that was downstairs. So it was like probably the highlight of that night. But it was cool just to get to hang out with again, also a bunch of network OGs, bunch of, Definity employee, like ex-Definity employees and stuff. It was really cool. It was super, super cool. Everyone showed up like that.
Yeah. And like, unlike on just the forums and Twitter and stuff, like you kind of just get like a surface level conversation. You could actually like get into like the details of stuff and like have debates with people and like, that was really good.
And so many times I would be talking to someone for a few minutes and then realize I already knew them. Like when they like, oh, you're that Twitter handle. Oh, I already know your I only know your PFP. It's just like seeing what they look like in person. All right, so I'm going to announce for the first time our plan for the very next conference event, and it's very weird and different. So I'll get you all's reactions to it, and then maybe we can also take questions before. But this is the first time we've talked about it, right? And first off, we're not going to be abandoning the standard conference format, and we will do that again in the future. But for the next birthday of the IC, we want to really try to push the limits for how inclusive and accessible we could make an ecosystem event, all without losing the tight-knit in-person connections that made the first conference so special. I mean, the first conference was great, but it was only a small subset of the ecosystem because it's one geographic area on Earth, and it's expensive for projects to ask them, hey, fly your whole team over to come attend this. So we're thinking, how can we include all the different cohorts at once in something? So the next event, to accomplish this, we're planning a virtual conference that'll have in-person ICP watch parties hosted all over the world. The goal would be to bring the ecosystem together to give every single ICP fan everywhere the excitement, content, and connections to make ICP go viral and break out of its shell. You can think of this almost like a global rally or revival event for ICP. There will be social media contests, awesome talks by key players, airdrops and prizes, and ways for everyone to be part of the ICP revolution. And our goal would be that you can attend virtually and participate for free, or you could also attend a free local meetup that will have like a watch party and networking for your geographical area, so that we can strengthen all the local cohorts across the world, and you know, build up more momentum going into the next standard conference format, if that makes sense. So yeah, what do y'all think? This is a fairly new idea. It's a new direction we just started working down. But going to the last conference, what are y'all thinking about this different approach?
I mean, I'm excited to not be as jet lagged for this one.
Nice, that's good. And I see like there's a lot of cohort in, for example, on our listeners right now from Africa, and there's a huge cohort in Africa for ICP. Like I'd love to see, and we had a boot camp event over there. Like I'd love to see like them have their own meetups and everything.
So you think that it should be like individual meetups that all kind of like are in one conference from like remote areas?
Yeah, the current thinking, and we're still working on exact formats. First off, Code and State itself is global. And when we launched Code and State, we did global meetups all over the world, from Bali to New York to LA to several areas in Europe. And right now we have staff in Cape Town. We have staff in every continent. We only have 8 staff, but we're all spread out. So Code and State will be hosting like 3 to 5 meetups all over the world at the same time, and those will be officially co-hosted, hosted by Code and State. And we'll also be having sponsors. So there are ICP companies all over the world. So a sponsor can come in and host their own meetup. So it'd be, you know, the meetup in Berlin sponsored by, you know, such and such sponsor. And so the goal would be to have about 15 or at least or around 15 different meetups all over the world in different cities and ICP hotspots and Web3 hotspots. So you could find a meetup next to you, meet all the people local to you that love ICP, and together take part in the conference.
That sounds like a pretty great idea. Honestly, what is the process for becoming a sponsor to a meetup event for this?
I mean, honestly, I think it's just a matter of when we announce this more formally through articles and posts coming up. So follow me on X at Isaac_ICP. We'll probably submit a form, and I can imagine that the restrictions are going to be fairly low. I'm even fine with just individuals saying, "Hey, I've got space. I want people to come up." I want to use Meetup.com and kind of make it part of the same series. And basically, anybody who loves ICP and is willing and wants to host a watch party would love to help you do that, right? You know, generally, the word sponsor means you would be investing in your own meetup, right? So we might have ways to help specific areas, but for the most part, it would mean you'd buy some pizza for everybody, maybe get there's lots of free spaces. You can do, universities have lots of free spaces. There's accelerators and stuff like that. Like I'll be hosting one in Texas, for example. Anyone in Texas who loves ICP, welcome to attend mine. But you know, if I do it in Austin or Houston, then somebody can do it in San Antonio, and I'd be happy to have both going on at once. So yeah, basically there'd be like a form to submit on the article that announces this more formally, and anyone interested can fill it out. So yeah. All right.
I like it. I like it.
That sounds great. And so anybody with questions, you can feel free. I see lots of questions. People seem pretty excited about it on here. So yeah, if anybody has any specific questions, always feel free to reach out. You can DM me on Twitter, even if you just have ideas or if you're interested in participating. It'll be around next May. And we're excited to have all of that come out. And in the meantime, too, a great way to get involved would be to join our ICP groups. So you can go, I'll leave this up. You can scan this QR code. It goes to our WhatsApp groups, and that gives direct access to the Code and State team and also other people who just love ICP. And somebody asked, can there be a special group for the Nigerian community? I mean, there's, I know that we've had a particularly large cohort in Nigeria. And in fact, I was reached out to by a bank that wants, a big bank in Nigeria that wants to do a stable coin. And I've been matching them with devs, and hopefully projects like that. I've just noticed a lot of ICP stuff is thriving in Nigeria. So I would love to have somebody host a meetup for the next ICP virtual conference in Nigeria. It'd be awesome. All right. Well, you've all got your own projects. You've been building for a while. Any last minute feedback or tips that you want to give to other builders on the IC? Maybe stuff that you wish to know before you got involved, or before we sign off here. Paul, you have anything to share before we sign off?
I mean, I want to say you guys starting now are lucky. There's so much more documentation now than a year ago.
That's true.
But yeah, no, I think just get started, really. That's, you can learn a bunch as you go. And yeah, the community is always really helpful, and go on the forum. The forum's awesome.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Star? Yeah, I'd say don't wait for things to be completed. Just build with what you have thus far, and then it'll just get better. But I think the IC is still building, and there's going to be a ton of new things in store for the future, but don't let that be like a deterrent.
Yeah, sounds good. And Daniel?
Yeah, I would agree with both of them on that. The other thing I'd like to mention is that recently the Swap founder Kyle and I have been helping onboard new teams and new developers to the internet computer ecosystem, as well as giving lessons on using Azel, a platform for building smart contracts with TypeScript. And we actually are offering help with a lot of things, including grant applications and getting set up with different things like the development stack, and learning about the different tooling, connecting relevant projects with other relevant projects, and kind of creating, and growing the community. So if there's ever anybody who's watching or anybody new who would like to really take a deep dive or a jump into the IC ecosystem, feel free to reach out to Kyle or I on Twitter. Our DMs are always open, and we'll be happy to arrange something. We'd love to help new people get comfortable here.
That's great. I love to see all that the Swap has been doing for the community and the ecosystem. So thanks for sharing that. I would say, we've got how many now? Maybe 17 or 18 of these talks on our YouTube live channel. These are all people that are passionate about Web3, that are building innovative things. There's a lot of insights and wisdom sprinkled along these talks that I think the builders. I mean, my heart has been, how can I share the most useful information to builders possible? So, I mean, you have a chance now for free to learn from from those leading the charge, and learn what you can from them. Find your own place in leading the charge with your own innovation that you're going to add and carry on. And I guess I'll wrap up with a little bit of information about Code and State, because it seems appropriate to wrap it up here. And DM me with ideas for future content. I think we're gonna continue doing video content. This is the last of this weekly live stream series, but we will continue creating content for the ecosystem. But Code and State is a venture studio, which is an alternative to pre-seed venture funding. So instead of providing a lump sum of money in exchange for equity, we provide 1 to 2 years of runway and complete support, everything from legal to marketing to strategic help to UI UX. So for 1 to 2 years, all a founder has to worry about is finding product market fit, and then they move on to their Series A or their next step in their business, and they have their own business. They maintain majority ownership and control over it, and we take 20% equity for that. So startups on the IC need more handholding. We provide that. Our internal ventures, we've got Solid State for audit. So if anybody needs a code audit, we'll work with you. We do flexible pricing for free SNS audits, for example, so that most of the cost is offloaded till after the SNS raise. We have TalentDB. If you need dev talent, we've got the largest database of ICP devs of anybody. And the reason we have it is because we train the most devs through Motoko Bootcamp. We will start bi-weekly workshops, 1-hour workshops. We can go from knowing nothing to having a live canister smart contract on the IC within 60 to 90 minutes. We'll do those bi-weekly and monthly workshops. And we're going to have a marketing campaign, and our goal is to bring in over 100 new IC devs every single month, starting Q1 2024. So we hope to be really helping to grow the ecosystem through that initiative. And then, of course, we've got the conference. So those are the 4 internal kind of things that Code and State does, but our main thing is finding great entrepreneurs to join our acceleration program so that we can support them. And ultimately, we want to bring product market fit for Web3 through ICP, because that's how ICP wins. So thanks everyone for joining us through this journey. It's been over 3 months of weekly live streams. So I'm grateful to have been the organizer of the previous conference, grateful to have been hosting these live streams. I'm also going to be grateful to have my Thursdays free starting next week. But all those guests who have joined us, Paul, Star, Daniel, thank you for taking the time. I know that this takes a lot of time and preparation, so I appreciate all of that. And it's been an honor to highlight you and other great people in the ecosystem. We can't wait to continue to find new, exciting ways to do that. Everybody, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Go out there, fight the FUD, stay bullish, and build something awesome.